We are live. My slow count. Welcome back, guys. Thunder E here. The weekly is back. I know we're missing for 2 weeks. Apologize. Mama was in town, so I'm sorry. You all got to go. Anyway, we have, of course, Mr. Juan Bagnell, Mr. AKA, why did I say Mr. twice? I was going to say AKA some gadget guy, but I went again, Mr. Yes, Juan, how's it going, man?
It's going well. Let's talk some tech. Let's do this.
Yeah, so the thing here is that we don't have a uselessness for the week. So if you guys have any, feel free to chime in. Don't have that yet, but we might as well start off with some of the topics for the week. So I know you guys reported a Pocket Now also. Rumors of the Nexus or the HTC Nexus will be dubbed M1 and S1. 5-inch display, 5.5, made by HTC. Now the question, I mean, we've kind of heard this rumors, but the question is this now, and this is something that Lurod asked me yesterday. He said, will we see boom sound to its full effect on this device, especially with some of the software things like tuning your headphones, or do you think it's going to be just strictly vanilla?
It's really difficult to get a handle on where we might go. For a lot of the commentary that's been coming out on HTC M1, S1, these Marlin or Sailfish, whatever code names we're trying to dig up on these phones, a lot of the commentary really does seem to be focused on this is HTC building these for Google, not HTC building these phones. That the reference, the design, all of the aesthetics that are being chosen or selected really do seem to be very strictly controlled by Google. So I don't believe that on a Nexus device, Google is going to go out of their way to engage in the same partnerships and licensing deals that HTC did. I mean, a big part of boom sound is their relationship with Dolby.
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah. So it's I don't think we're going to see Google really trying to reach out to engage in that kind of branding or licensing on a Nexus device. It's not to say that we won't get, maybe a really nice high quality amp, a nice quality DAC to go into that phone. Maybe we don't get some of the trappings of boom sound built into the device, but I'd be very surprised to see the actual licensing, the actual branding. All of those things are very much HTC, and I think that's what's going to differentiate an HTC product from a Nexus device. And I think we're going to see that be the dividing line, keeping those two cultures separate.
Yeah. I do agree. It would be nice if we got some of that in there.
Well, I think,
even maybe as a software package from HTC that you can download. But then again,
But I think a number of people will be sated if we get similar hardware. So I mean that's kind of it. Like if Google mandates that it has to have stereo speakers. That's very much like what we have on the HTC One, but they're not going for the Dolby branding and the HTC audio tweaks, the software that influences. If it's just the stereo speakers and then a nice high quality headphone jack, I mean, we've got 80% of what it is that we want from a boom sound experience on a Nexus device. I mean, I think that could still be really compelling hardware. It's just when we make that final push, boom sound really is the combination of hardware and software that HTC dictates is crafting their overall audio experience. And I don't think too many people are going to be put out if that's what they get on a Nexus device. They don't get that last little software push.
I definitely agree. I think HTC bringing some of the hardware audio talents over to the Nexus takes the Nexus to the next step. I mean, we've seen the Nexus device, especially with the 6-speed go, and have a camera that can now come out in public and stand with the rest of guys out there. And now we hopefully we can get audio that does the same thing too, or even be the second best audio. If you like, I consider HTC 10 to be having the best audio. So that kind of thing.
And just like you determine that HTC has the absolute best camera bar none against any competitor on the market today.
When did I say that? Yeah, how's it going, Warren?
How's it going?
Yeah. So I'm sure if you guys are watching, Juan here is talking about my HTC verse 10 versus the.
Well, I was just happy to see that, knowing how you're totally bought and paid for by Samsung, that you were able to give the HTC a fair shake in this camera. I was expecting you to be way more biased, since you're obviously a shill for Samsung in all ways, all the time.
I mean, well, maybe my Samsung check was a little light this month. That's probably why. I don't know. You know, yeah. I try to bring some Fox News, you know, fair and balanced, you know, situation to this.
Yes, and I think we're always appreciative. Basically, what we're getting at, though, is my compatriot here produced a comparison video between these two phones, and of course, you can't express an opinion on the internet without having someone come and call you a shill or call you biased. I mean, like, I just recently put out an iPad review, and I got like 3 or 4 comments from people like, well, I'm not even going to watch it because I know this guy's an Android fanboy. And you're like, okay, but you were still motivated to come to this video and
go to the video.
You still got the hit, so thanks.
Thanks for, you know, making a comment and maybe thumbing it down, whatever the case may be. And I'm better at hit an ad on the way out the door. So
well, they had to have. I mean, we serve ads on those videos, so we still got
click on one of those on the way out the door. You know, like, well, I've found, and because remember I dealt with this 2 years ago. Being critical of HTC amongst a lot of the fanboys out there is almost high treason. It's they come out very volatile towards you if you don't say their device is perfect. And you notice we didn't hear them last year because they outright couldn't say it last year.
Yeah.
Well,
last year was a rough year for HTC.
So they really had to be quiet in most cases. But now, since HTC's made a good product, they're all like, you know, coming out again and coming out of woodwork, and any little small criticism is like, well, Samsung or well this or does that, and it's just like you can't. You know what? You can't win with them.
You know what I thought was funny though is I still get crap from HTC advocates. I don't know if that's the right word for the A9 because I refuse to not call that phone an iPhone clone. That phone is like the exact definition.
Every reviewer did. Every reviewer said that in their. Sorry, not to cut you off, but every reviewer said that in their review.
Then you go and look in the comments, and you're like, well, how can the A9 be an iPhone clone when Apple copied HTC first? And you're like, no. This isn't antenna bands. Everyone acknowledges that Apple ripped off HTC's antenna bands.
Yeah.
It's that the A9 in every other metric, design, style, aesthetic, form factor, down to the bezels on the front face, has now emulated the iPhone on this. That's more than just aluminum and antenna bands.
Yeah, I will give you that too. I'm, you know, this last weekend I was in Massachusetts again, and I was out with a few friends, and I pulled out the HTC 10, and they're like, "Whoa, that is a new iPhone!" No, and I just had to go like this. I literally tried to like HTC. I was like, "Yeah." But it kind of looks like it's better. But it looks like an HTC. I just showed you. Stop calling iPhone.
Nah. Well, I mean, I gotta say, at least this returns HTC to a design language which is uniquely theirs. Now, they are going to have to suffer that the iPhone is a ridiculously more popular platform, so that just that initial glance when you see the antenna band cutting across the top of the phone, people are going to identify with what they are most familiar with. But the second you get the device in your hand or you show it off to a finer degree than from at arm's length, I think it's a much clearer representation of what HTC can do with the phone. Yeah. The A9 is such a gross misstep for following so closely in Apple's design language. At least now we've got more talking points to discuss, like how this is different than Apple as a competitor.
Yeah, definitely so. Moving on to our next topic, we're talking about our good friends Apple. So Apple had a slightly rough day. They didn't lose money. They didn't actually lose money, so let's not go there. But their quarterly earnings for Q2 2016 came out, $50.6 billion. That's a lot of cash, except compared to last year, it was $58 billion. And then also net income went down from 10.5. I mean, from 13.6 down to 10.5. And then you had Apple's biggest shareholder, ICANN, sell Apple stock.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been holding that for a while, holding it for a long time. And
What's the name again?
What's his first name? I know his last name is ICANN. And he sold Apple stock, which caused a huge dip in the market. Like once it went out that he
didn't
sold
the
stock.
stock price fall something like 8% the day
Yeah,
yeah,
like that. It was like it was going this, and he just went. If you look at charts, so.
Well, and I love when they actually reformat the graph so that 8% drop looks like they went from 100 to 0. You know
exactly.
what I mean? That stuff cracks me up when we start talking about stocks.
Yeah, so you know, and you've seen. I'm sure you guys have seen different articles talking about Apple needs something. They paint a lot of doom and gloom when it's not the case. But it just indicates something we've been talking about for quite a while, that Apple needs to go back and find some kind of innovation, because they will continue to lose revenue. Not necessarily make losses, but lose revenue. So thoughts, guys?
This is one of the frustrating things about talking about the stock market, is that, again, like you said at the, introducing the story, is that this isn't really a commentary on Apple's performance. It's a commentary on the perception of Apple's performance. No one is disagreeing with the notion that this is still one of the most juggernaut profitable companies on the market. It's just that they're now starting to run into the same issues that all of their manufacturers have, in that growth is not sustainable in the smartphone industry. At some point, you run out of people to sell phones to. And we also know that this is coming. This is actually a unique storm of events for Apple. It happened during an S year. S years typically don't sell as well as the numbered years, because consumers are more impressed with the new phone than they are the refined
phone. Yeah.
So that's already going to hurt Apple there. We've seen them struggling to work out deals in Asia. They just landed some deals in India, and I think that was on the strength of releasing the iPhone SE as a new low-cost option.
Yeah.
But that's not going to influence. The SE doesn't influence last quarter. It's going to influence this next fiscal quarter report. And this is also coming at the time where carriers are starting to back off. They've all pretty much eliminated on-contract cell phones. So when consumers are tasked, and they actually understand the dollar relationship to buying a new phone, paying it off over a period of time, it becomes a bit more like a car. You want to pay that phone off, and then you don't necessarily jump right on getting a new phone. We're finding that consumers are actually starting to hold on to their phones for a significantly longer period of time. So all of those things adding up together is starting to take some of the emotion out of buying a new phone. A new phone purchase is practical purchase. You need a smartphone in this day and age, but what phone you get is very emotional. And so now cooler heads are starting to think, like, well, do I really want to buy a $700 phone? Maybe I can hold off for a little bit longer and see what the next iPhone is going to bring, and then it's going to feel like an even bigger upgrade than what I've got now. So all of these things adding up together really does speak to Apple needing to diversify, just like every other tech company. I mean, you think about what Samsung and LG are doing right now, what HTC is doing with the Vive. They're all trying to get into different areas of content production, of accessories, peripherals, trying to fill out the market. And that's where Apple was actually surprisingly successful in this last fiscal quarter. If you crunch the numbers, was it the services? The accessories market for Apple showed something like 20% growth, and I think between the accessories and the software services market, remember, Apple considers themselves a hardware company, but their software services, I think those two markets together outperformed iPads and Macs. So buying headphones and Apple TV and Apple Watch outperformed the iPad market, which is really compelling for them.
So looking at revenue here, just to add to that point, it did not combine, but individually it did bypass them. So services, it was.
I mean, like combine, like if you combine software services and accessories, I think that outperformed the combination of iPads and Macs.
Okay. Yeah, I can't find accessories in, but the services alone did outperform each individual one anyway.
Yeah, which I mean, I think that is evidence that Apple could do well if they spread their revenue out a little bit more over just iPhones. I mean, iPhones still represent 65% of their market, and that's a lot to pin on one family of devices. They really do need to be getting money from more places.
Yeah, what's really looking sad here from the numbers is the revenue from the iPad. If you look at the numbers, they sold more iPads than they sold Macs, actually more than double, and the revenue is less than the Macs.
Yeah, well, and I think the numbers for both were down. I know
Yep.
Macs were down somewhere around 9 or 10%,
hmm
and I know iPads were down too. So these are not growth areas for any tech
Yeah.
company right now.
Yeah, it definitely is, and it just goes to point to the fact that they need to have new products, new services, new things to expand. Warren, what's your take?
Pretty much agree with what's being said here. They need to look at creating some type of new market for them. Either that's creating a more robust MacBook, something that's maybe similar to the Surface, not just kind of leveraging the iPad is what they initially been doing, which I don't think is the necessarily the proper solution for that. They may need to look at I think look at how they're handling the tablet market and maybe looking at streamlining that a little bit more, or just kind of maybe weighing off a little bit, because the tablet market for the most part has cooled down significantly to the point where I think at best last year, I believe only Samsung really released a tablet relatively quietly, and they released one tablet, which is an amazing thing for them to release one of any type of product. And LG released nothing, HTC released nothing, and what's even bigger news, what's even bigger news is
to revamp.
Google released nothing. There was no Nexus tablet.
Yeah.
New last year, and I think that says something in that market space where
Pixel C a last year product, or did that officially release this year?
I don't know what the hell that thing was.
No, I think that's the year before.
I don't know what the hell that thing was.
There was no Pixel C launch with the Nexus line launch.
I don't know what that thing was. I don't know what it was. A tablet. It was a Chrome.
I could be wrong, but
no, the Pixel C launched at around the same time as when during Google I/O, and they announced it around the same time. They announced Project Fi and all that stuff. Okay. That's when.
But yeah, so all right.
This thing is this thing in the wild. It's like a Pokemon.
Yeah, but I mean, I think just going back.
You can't buy it.
Going back to Apple is the fact that they just need to diversify, because they can. I see them losing ground. Not that they're going to lose money, but they're going to keep losing ground where they need to diversify quick enough. I mean, one other area where I find it really odd is the fact that they've not done anything with Beats, even though I do not like them. But I mean, they bought the company.
They're failing to exploit. They're not an audio company. They're about a company that's not actually good with audio. They're just good at marketing headphones.
No, but it doesn't matter. The company was good at selling headphones. That was even the thing.
Yeah, I mean that's kind of the point.
But how many
is a lifestyle company, and Beats is a lifestyle
brand. Think about this: how many headphones can you sell to people before you can't sell them anymore?
Oh, I don't think we've tapped the market.
No, we haven't, because people haven't. A lot of people haven't gone to that level of headphones yet. A lot of people are still.
Yeah, because I don't think. To be perfectly honest, to be honest with you, I think on the mobile scale thing, I don't think that many people are interested in that. They're interested in getting whatever the hell comes with the damn phone or whatever it comes with.
If Apple were to sell a better version, Beats version, quote unquote, of the EarPod for $99 or whatever, under slightly $100 price point,
it would just be
I think they will have a market there to sell for. Because a lot of people buy headphones in that range.
Well, and also I think they're missing an opportunity to brand Beats for other audio experiences too. Like I'm surprised that there's not more automobile integration, that they're not seeing like Beats portable speakers. Like expanding that lineup and encouraging Beats to find every opportunity to craft sonic experiences for consumers. Like a Sonos or like a Bose style home system. There's plenty of market.
There's plenty. closed it
They
down.
haven't pushed that far.
Well, I don't think to me, I don't think they bought that Beats for that. I think they thought they had some technology they can integrate into their phones to use, and they probably found out that there isn't good enough technology to
It was
put in
all
the phones
Monster.
to use.
Yeah,
And I think that's what it really honestly was, and they probably found out they don't have the patents to use some of those things.
no,
And
it's not just patents, dude. It's not that. Look, the Bluetooth market for speakers is blown. The home audio market is now growing, especially the way Sonos has attacked it, right? And it doesn't matter whether you're good enough right now. The company is good enough at making noise and getting people to buy. And Apple is not playing to that strength at all.
Well, you gotta remember, they bought Beats while they were still in the middle of pushing all their some stupid Beats Pill things. The Bluetooth market's already tapped out because you can get cheap ones now for such a low price.
No,
to have high quality. Why would you buy it?
With the
And that's but that's also the same thing as well too with headphones. You can go on Amazon now and find cheap Bluetooth high quality headphones for a reasonable cost now. And it's like trying to put something out there to compete against that market when people are gonna shop and price check online, and you're gonna unless you're that big of an Apple fan to buy that.
Yeah, but what you're saying here is that it's almost like you're saying that people like Bang & Olufsen, who actually made bigger gains with more expensive stuff, can't do that. You can. The problem is Apple bought a company called Beats, who released the pill, did well the first one, second one also was looking good in terms of the sales, and then they cut it. There's nothing else. Nothing. They've just been releasing colors.
That's all you can. What else can you do to add to that thing to keep it in the price point that is while competing against everyone else putting up Bluetooth headphones, Bluetooth speakers?
In general, all their product lines have just been color upgrades.
It's not a situation of us needing to have a solution for how Apple could leverage Beats. It's just realizing that there are still gaps in their market. It's that Apple has a bunch of partners for like AirPlay. We don't see any Beats integration with products or services like Apple TV. I mean, Apple is known for having this tremendous ecosystem. And so in owning a company, not just partnering with a company, but in owning a company, it is kind of strange that we haven't seen them leverage that branding, a branding which is very consumer identifiable. I mean, those of us who are in this podcast and those of us who are watching this podcast understand what Beats brings to the table in terms of bang for buck. But you still see that Beats logo on a lot of headphones out in the ecosystem. You still see people at the gym wearing those little Beats Sport Pods. I don't remember what they're actually called.
Power Beats.
But it is kind of curious that Apple is a lifestyle brand. They're a lifestyle company more than they're a tech company.
They bought a headphone lifestyle company.
Exactly. It's like you want to see that logo, not necessarily representing any kind of audiophile experience, but you want the logo. I just find it curious that we haven't seen them intertwine more. They do seem to be separate islands. And they don't really seem to work together as much.
It's because, you remember, it's Apple. If they didn't make it, and they can't put it under their whole name, and they can't slap their Apple logo on it, it doesn't exist in their world. So it don't matter if they bought Beats. Beats is still a separate world to them until they could they could take that B out and put that Apple logo on it and sell it the same way. I mean, until they can kind of do that, which I don't think it's gonna fly as well.
Yeah, exactly, it won't.
It's not gonna fly as well at all.
The best thing you can do on the box is call it Beats by Apple. That's it.
No,
that's the best thing you can do on the box.
That's not going to work either.
No, on the box, it still has to be the Beats logo anywhere on the headphones. But like Juan said, there is so many ways for integration. They lost out with the integration laptops, right? Now you have Bang & Olufsen, doing a huge push here. Dolby directly doing pushes on laptops themselves. So, I mean, there's so many things that they could have because to me, I find it funny that there are certain things that Apple will do, which is great in the business side. So Apple is one of the biggest recyclers of smartphones. They buy back their own smartphones. Others recycle for the rare elements. And the amount of revenue they generated last year from recycling was about $80 million. Not much, but also means they also have more materials to go back into iPhones to use. So if you're doing that, and then why can't you expand in other areas too?
Because they bought a company that they can't assimilate.
Is no, they can assimilate. You just don't want to because, like you said, since you can't put that A instead of the B,
you can't assimilate a company. They assimilate a company that eventually can be another stormtrooper in their Death Star of Apple that can eventually just be a clone that fits in somewhere into that place. Beats stands out so much that they can't do that. They can't just put it into their thing and it's just gonna go away. It's gonna be a colorful stormtrooper running around in red and blue and green and everything else, all running around the Apple Death Star. That Tim Cook's Darth Vader, is gonna work that way.
Yeah, then that means they're a company who is not willing to learn, and
because I think
not willing to learn to move.
Some of the things I think they bought Speed for was, one, they thought they could integrate something into their system. Two, I think it was more for their home kit stuff. Three, and I think they looked at what the Beats One service was already out and pretty much copied it into their own Apple service and then canceled the Beats service right after they finished copying everything that was already in the Beats One music service. I think those are the three main things that they bought it for, and the fact that actually gives them a direct link into the urban market in a lot of ways, because that's where primarily Beats has a strong hold in terms of branding is concerned. Yeah. It puts them in those positions, but as far as them putting out new headphones, I'm not surprised that there isn't any new ones, or there isn't any ones with their branding or any type of new stuff with them yet. I'm not surprised there isn't, because the only thing, I really think that if we do see that, that's going to be HomeKit related stuff. Something that you can, they might make a Sonos style speaker system with Beats or something that they can and that type of stuff I think will happen. But as far as on the consumer level of things, that market is so saturated. Look at your wall in general is only about maybe 1/24,000th of the number of headphone companies that are out there and brands, and then by the number of clones of those same ones that are up there under someone else's branding is going on at all sorts of different prices. And it'd be a lot easier for them to do this if they didn't have to compete with online retailing.
If
there was limited shelf space.
I disagree because Beats was already Beats forced Bose to pay more money to get NFL licensing, because they were like, you know what, if we do not go out there and create brand recognition with somebody who a lot of people watch, we are screwed as a company. Everybody knew Bose as just being, if you want quiet headphones in the plane, that's it, right?
How does that?
No, but what I'm saying is that Beats as a company had a place in the market. If you take that wall as the market, which of course I have one Beats up there, but Beats had a solid place because their marketing and brand recognition was better than any headphone company in the world. Not that they were the best. So when Apple buys,
but they also came in at the time when that stuff started, was just in the early beginning of getting popular with headphones and stuff. There was a headphone market, but we didn't see the second generation of everything blowing up out of anywhere until Beats and those companies started to come around and started to really push that.
Yeah, but after that
initial push,
that already is a market leader, and then you shut it down. It makes no sense.
Because the market got saturated, and I can even prove it even more. How many headphone reviews have you done back then last year into what you do now? It's because it got saturated out. It's all.
I actually do less.
Thank you.
Because I should do less.
Because they're all the same clones.
No, they're not the same clone.
They are. There's a lot of them branded the same exact way.
Audio literacy on the side, okay?
Okay.
Right? And then we can come back to that.
They're all branded the same thing, man. I'm not saying they're all the same, but there's a market. There's so many out there. This isn't like when you had to deal with brick and mortar and there was only so much shelf space.
Yeah, but also
you could buy shelf space right into it for people to see.
You're discounting what I just said with Bose. Bose was a big company. Bose had to do what Beats did before to get that urban or youth brand recognition, because every young person thought Bose was the headphone my dad bought because they wanted something quiet.
What youth recognition does Bose have? I don't see anybody under the age of 40 with a pair of Bose.
That's what he's saying is that.
And it's still to this day, I don't see that.
No, but they have how they achieving it now because they just signed an NFL contract.
How, Sway? How?
The NFL contract
You
lasts.
don't got the answer because I don't see any Bose out there, Sway. I don't
really?
see any Bose. I actually see more Bowers and Wilkin headphones out there than I've seen Bose.
No, I still see more Bose. I see more Bowers and Wilkins. Yeah,
I've seen them more.
I've seen about ratio maybe 5 Bowers Wilkins. I've seen about 20.
When I've seen Bose, it's usually at airports, and it's usually business types a little bit older, roughly in the 40s to 50s or so. And people that if it's somebody younger, that means they know what they're doing with their audio, so that's why they have those headphones.
But
beyond that,
then
we're
why
talking
would
about
Bose spend the money to get an NFL deal
to get that stupid logo on TV every week, just like Motorola did?
No, to increase your market size. The NFL is well known as the place for your brand to grow. Samsung was the one who started that with the TVs. When Samsung TVs, Samsung signed a deal with the NFL.
How much bigger has that grown since that deal that happened like 3 years ago?
What?
How much bigger?
Samsung deal was not 3 years ago.
No, I'm talking about how much bigger Bose has gotten since that deal dropped 3 years ago.
I don't know the specifics, but I've seen more Bose headphones. I'm just talking anecdotal and events. Until you have facts and I have facts, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying that the company thought it was wise to expand its market by spending so much money to get a licensing deal.
Yeah,
so
I don't think that relates to them against Beats. I don't think it does.
It does. Juan, anything before we move on to RFIDs?
Actually, the last thing that I did want to bring up about the quarterly, I sort of checked out for the last bit of that headphone conversation there. The one thing I found really interesting about Apple's position over this last fiscal quarter in looking at their cash pile. They're over what, $230 billion that they're sitting on.
Yeah.
And so one of their primary ways, in keeping investors happy, is that they're going to be pushing dividends. But what I thought was really fascinating was to push out those dividends, they're actually looking to take on debt. That that so much money is sort of invested in a variety of world markets that repatriating that cash to Apple HQ would have incurred such significantly huge tax bills that they're actually going to increase their dividends by taking on debt here in the United States. I just thought that was sort of a fascinating step in like all of this creative banking, all of the commentary politically on tax havens around the world.
Well, yeah.
Even though this company is the wealthiest company on the planet, one of the most profitable companies the world has ever seen, that even they are sort of getting stung by this accounting practice and keeping their shareholders happy. I mean, this is a short-term sting. It's not like it's going to really affect the company's bottom line over time.
True.
But it was just sort of an odd step to see them do there. But then also to say, what is it that we're looking at when we see a company that's sitting on over $200 billion in reserve, and we're not seeing them get more aggressive with R&D. I know Google wears all of their experiments on their sleeve. All of those pet projects that you see at Google are very public, and we get to see them fail spectacularly when they fail. But Apple doesn't seem to, every time we've talked about a quarterly, it's like, Apple's sitting on $100 billion in reserve. Apple's sitting on $130 billion, $160 billion. They're sitting at $230 billion, and we're not seeing that money pushing towards any kind of Apple Car. We're not seeing it push towards VR. We're not seeing anything. I know they're super secretive, but there's nothing for us to see to get excited about Apple as a brand. HTC, I think the HTC 10 is getting a bump from the HTC Vive. It's just the HTC name is getting more awareness out in the consumer space. When we see how cool the Vive is, it makes that brand a little more tenable. We're not seeing anything like that from Apple.
No, that's very true. Until they want to spend the money they have to do something wise with it, we'll see.
I mean,
research and development.
It's just
research and development. Well, that's something I don't think they're going to spend a lot of money on.
Maybe they'll get Apple Car, maybe they'll buy Tesla and whatever.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone could right now. I just think it's curious. I mean, like, what's the point of sitting on that many imaginary dollar points at this point?
Oh, it's very simple, man. Scrooge McDuck.
Tim Cook
money, man.
Swimming in change every day.
Yeah,
it's like ballin'.
All right, moving on to something that should have been done many years ago. Delta is rolling out RFID tags for their luggages by the end of the summer. So, which means that theoretically, unless somehow that thing is cut, your baggage should never be lost. It may be on another plane, but you should be able to find it. Thoughts on this new revelation that are from a technology that is 30 years old or however old RFIDs are? Any thoughts, guys?
Meh.
Well, no, I mean, like, I think a lot of people are gonna share the sentiment that it's just nice to see a company trying to do something to stem. And if you do a lot of traveling, you've probably had to deal with your luggage not making it to your destination.
Oh, yeah.
So if RFID is the way to go, great. It's just kind of surprising that, because I mean, you look at the airline industry and they're a very conservative technologies company. I mean, there are systems on planes that could be upgraded with things like fiber optic communications. The amount of wiring and cabling that goes into an airplane adds a significant amount of weight to that airplane. But you have to wait a really long time to vet that new technology to make sure it's safer than the current technology employed, that it's more reliable. I mean, it takes a long time to influence change in the airline industry. And so when we're talking about something like RFID tags on luggage, that's a very innocuous update to make, but it is kind of surprising that we're not seeing more companies try to do other things to make this service more reliable. So, I mean, like, kudos to Delta, and hopefully it does spur on a little bit more, just a little bit more reliability across the entire airline industry.
Yeah, I agree.
I
Anything
agree.
else, Warren? Or you're like,
Yeah,
you said math the first time, so.
yeah, I mean,
All right,
what's there really to say?
so we started a new segment where to give us some time to lament, argue, just like we did earlier, and just
We could have made beats the argument, guys.
yeah, we could have made beats argument, but so we're going to be doing a specific topic every week that we can talk about and free flow with. And this week we're talking about FCC opening up the cable box and how that affects whether cable companies, your viewing, all that kind of stuff. So I'll kick things off, make it easy, so no one feels I'm
Whoa,
pointing
whoa,
them
whoa,
out.
whoa, 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 whoa! Before we jump into this, we
What?
didn't talk about the news of the day and get Juan's opinion on the whole Nintendo situation.
That's not the news of the day. We already talked about that, and just let it go. Come on,
Well,
let it
we haven't
go.
heard Juan yet, and his
Okay,
So,
all right, Juan, quickly.
again,
NX coming out next year.
for our audience, the NX is coming out next week.
Next year,
next year.
Sorry.
March 2017.
So why don't we give Juan just a quick recap on what this thing might
All right, all right.
Are we looking at, like, is it going to be like another AMD box that just happens to play
Yeah,
in
it's all consoles are powered by AMD GPU and CPUs. NX is rumored to be as powerful or slightly more powerful than PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. So we're looking at probably the same power at the PlayStation 4.5. I'll put it that way. Everybody was expecting NX to be at least shown at E3, or at least with some Nintendo conference around E3, and it was expecting a Christmas launch. NX is now coming, officially stated is coming March 2017, but then you have PlayStation 4.5 coming this year, which will give better support for VR and 4K content, aka 4K gaming content, actually to be more specific. So, we talked about this, my video, Warren's video, and we basically said that, this is Nintendo doing the same song and dance of shooting them, I said at least, shooting them in the foot. Because you miss that Christmas holiday shopping crowd, which really gives your new console a bump, and you're moving to a territory that no one really has launched a console at that time. Yeah, a handheld called the DS can launch anytime and do well, but not a home console.
Yeah, and the DS doesn't have any competition outside of smartphones now. Yeah.
Exactly. So thoughts on Nintendo officially saying that, and also Zelda has now been moved to March.
Okay, so that's actually better news to me than anything else. No, this is terrible news for Nintendo. For Nintendo fans, I think it's good news that the company is still trying to push out hardware. This is absolutely a reaction to the lack of 4K compatibility on all these different devices, and at some point Nintendo can't keep dragging their heels on power. You need more power. I don't know. I just kind of, like, as someone who still only has a PS3, I just kind of feel like this current generation of consoles feels like something of a stopgap generation, something almost a lost generation of hardware that nothing about it really pushed the boundaries on gaming, that we now have to look to new consoles to satisfy the growing market for ultra HD resolution and software
content.
solutions and services and virtual reality. And so all of this does sort of just kind of get lumped into yet another disappointing factor of where the gaming market is right now. And that for this entire time, any new titles that I've been wanting to play, if I can't get them on a PC, I just don't play them. So I can't understand a move where Nintendo doesn't try and get something out for the holiday season. It boggles the mind, because once those holiday dollars are spent, it's slim pickings to convince a family in this day and age that they need to have multiple boxes under their TV, that these boxes are stupid expensive, and that they have significant overlap in the services that they can perform. So once a family has spent money on an upgraded Xbox or an upgraded PlayStation, they don't have multiple monies anymore to go like, well, I need a PlayStation and an Xbox and a Nintendo and an Apple TV and an iPad and a top of the line smartphone. That just doesn't work anymore. I think we're all, as consumers and as tech fans, I think we're all a little burnt out on this notion of sort of unrestricted growth, that it's going to always keep growing. We can always have more tech gadgets. I think a lot of people are looking at ways that they can streamline, and this really is going to hammer Nintendo if they don't have something to show off at the end of 2016.
Yeah. There you have it. That is Mr. Juan Bagnell's comments there. And Warren and I have given ours, so we're just going to just cut it right there. Because if we start, we can just go on.
Go right back into it?
Yeah.
I have to go check those videos. I am so out of the loop on gaming stuff right now. I mean, it's not on my radar at all.
Yeah, it's slightly painful. But moving on to the topic of the week, FCC opened up the Cabelbox and how that affects you. I personally think, it's great. It's fantastic. I was in Boston on Thursday. We're at a Comcast event, and I was talking to the guys there, and from Comcast, and cable companies, they have one perspective, but at least it's good to see that they also are thinking we might as well do things quickly. The news broke that that was going to happen. Next minute, Comcast says you can now by I think in 3 months you're going to get Comcast on your Roku and your Samsung TV. So those kind of things I want to see. But the problem is, even with that, that's not going to be available, I believe, at launch around the US because of all those stupid regional restrictions. So even if Comcast is mostly a Northeast company and a few places down south, I can't remember. Are they on the West Coast? I don't think so. I don't think they're anywhere on the West Coast.
I think there are still some markets.
Okay, some markets.
I think they have some markets.
Okay, but
they
they have
west, it becomes heavier Time Warner territory.
But they have pockets, right? All these companies have pockets left and right. So if you're in Cali, in LA, and you buy a Samsung TV, and you're like, oh, sweet. Or maybe you used to live in New York, and you come down with your Samsung TV 2016 model, or your Roku, and you're like, shoot, I can still use my Comcast. You can't. Even though it's, you have a service, you're already connected through one of your connected devices. It, to me, is still very, very stupid. I mean, I know there are some other restrictions that are tied to that, but it's something where if you're going IP on everything, why have those weird restrictions? Like, why limit the base? Why can't I now freely as a customer pick and choose? I could go AT&T, I could go Time Warner, I could go Comcast, because now all I have to do on my Apple TV, my Roku, my Samsung, whatever, Xbox, PlayStation, maybe NX if it survives, is just download whatever I want to use.
No, I mean, those are definitely, but those have been the consumer complaints for a while now. I mean, like, since the cable industry's been involved in providing the highway to which our content is delivered, starting way back in the early days of TV, it's like, oh, why can't I just pay for the channels that I want to watch? Why do I have to buy these really expensive packages? I feel that for every step forward we get with cable services, it's always tempered by the fact that they are in a restrictive business, that they want a walled garden, that they want you using their services, that they want you using their DVR. So every little bit of progress that happens is a tremendous fight for pulling some kind of control away from them. So we're never ever going to get that just, oh, we'll flip a switch and you can do whatever you want solution. It's always going to be, okay, well, we'll give you this little bit, but then we're going to take this away, or we're going to give you this little bit, but you can only use it on Saturdays if you're standing on your left foot in Poughkeepsie. You know, so it's that constant battle to push forward, and that's why I think in terms of technologies, we're not excited by any of this stuff. We're sort of resigned to it, and we're sort of like happy when we get something, but then we always know that there's going to be some restriction or some problem with using that service on the back end.
Yeah, thanks for putting a damper to that. Like, we're never going to get
No,
it.
I mean,
I
didn't put the damper on it. You were the one that started saying, well, why can't I get this or why can't I get that?
I mean, but you said we never will.
Well, I mean, it's not that we'll never get the full spectrum of what you said. It's that we're going to have to fight piecemeal. We're never just going to get it in one shot.
Yeah.
It's never going to be like the cable industry just flips a switch and then all of a sudden we all get everything that we always wanted. It's that every little piece of that is going to be fought for, and by the time we get to what you want, we'll be dealing with a completely different method of audio and visual distribution of content, of how you know, our relationships with different distribution centers, things like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, are going to be getting way more competitive. So, you know, this isn't just like at some point we'll hit this goal line and we'll all be happy. It's that every time the cable industry gives us this one little thing, the rest of the industry is going to start competing, and that goal line is going to get pushed further from what we want from cable, and the cable industry is going to be very reticent to just give it to us.
Okay, now this is a question for you, Warren. As you mentioned that, Juan, and the fact that, you know, you have services like Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, who are building more and more shows. I mean, they just ordered The Punisher on Netflix. Jack Ryan is just ordered on Amazon. You know, all these different series and shows. Do you think cable networks will hold on to sports as being like that bastion of hope? Like, because, you know, many of us who love our sports, you want to see the playoffs, you want to see the games. I want to see Patriots no matter what, wherever I am. So do you think that's also one place where they can use and maximize and capitalize on you know, people's people staying with their service, or at least, you know, staying with them?
I mean, I was just thinking about, I don't know if I commented you on this or not earlier, but I mean, that is the last hope, is that live TV and sports is essentially what people have cable for. It's what keeps people connected to them, and they have to worry once the NBA, the NFL, those two mainly, and a third being baseball, decide that they want to do something different.
Sell those packages to Netflix, Hulu, and, like, you know what, that package is going out to everyone.
You know, and we're seeing Sunday Ticket more spread out now. NBA TV's been out for a while. We can kind of buy it kind of anywhere and just grab your packages. MLB is the one that really powers a lot of these type of on-demand content. I know they do that. I know they do. I think they power their own site. I think they do I don't know if they do the NHLs. I think they might. I know they do WWE's. They do. They're behind the technology that runs WWE Network, and several other sort of content portals that they run. So it's, you know, and they're in rumors of starting to try and sell by team, offer you a subscription for just your team.
I mean, it makes sense.
We're running into issues out here. We had a cluster fudge of shenanigans happen in trying to get Time Warner to fire up Dodgers baseball. So we were actually going to pay to expand our cable, because we only have like the most basic, and then I just use mostly for the internet. We're almost completely cord cut. But we were going to bite the bullet. There's no way for us to get Dodgers games anymore unless we've got this expanded Time Warner cable package. And we went through a week of Time Warner reps lying to us about the status of a delivery on a DVR, whether or not these channels were going to get lit up, of trying to get this package expanded. I mean, for that week, we were paying for a service that we never got. And so, unfortunately, now, like, we've cut it all back down again because we never got it. And we're not going to watch the last season that Vin Scully is going to be announcing Dodgers games. And we're livid. We're furious. about that. So when you start seeing things like, what was it NFL doing a tie-in with Twitter? Wasn't there?
The NFL has
some
Thursday Night Football
Thursday
on
Night Football
Twitter
with,
this year. Yeah.
So when I start seeing
weirdest
things like
deal
that,
ever.
and it's not even like whether or not live sports goes to any kind of distribution system like Netflix. It's that live sports can go anywhere. Live sports could go to Facebook. Live sports could go to Twitter. Live sports could go to Snapchat.
YouTube, yeah, Snap, you're
YouTube,
right.
exactly. It doesn't need to go to even a traditional online media company. It could go literally anywhere. And when we see that even Disney having issues with ESPN, that ESPN hasn't proven to be as profitable over the last year.
It's just been dying for a little while.
Yeah, ESPN's losing money and
I think it absolutely behooves every single major sporting organization. Like, I would love to see MLS strike a deal with a social network as opposed to a media company, and so I could watch MLS on Twitter or Facebook or Google Plus or whatever it is. That kind of thing I think would give us all a lot more hope, because then we would be engaging with a platform that is already geared for conversation, for sharing, for interaction, and we'd be right into it. I mean, I think that would be a way better format for immersive sports content and discussion than any kind of TV solution could be, and that's absolutely where cable companies are going to continue to fall on their face.
Yeah.
The problem is that the money for advertising is still heavily there and skewed there, so you're not really going to see the NBA and all those change their, NFL change that right off the bat.
Unless
they see a way that they can profit from that directly, and they're gonna make their money. And if they see that they're going to be able to make their money through these direct partnerships, but then there's also a chance that this could all change if the networks of ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox decide to do something different.
So Warren, I completely agree in the short term. You're right when we start talking about how money moves right now. But what we see is, like baseball. So like the Dodgers signed a ridiculous deal because of money.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that there aren't ads served on Dodgers games once you buy that Dodgers package. It's not like every baseball stadium doesn't have humongous green screen areas where they can feed in static ads during the game, so that while you're watching baseball, you're seeing banner ads practically everywhere. I really think sports is going to become more of like a podcast style solution. So once you broker the deal, that sports company or that sports agency, I don't know what the word platform. That sport is already looking at tons of money, and then once the game is on, they're going to be inserting ads everywhere.
Yeah.
So they can work out their own deals on that end. It's just like cable TV. It's like you pay for cable, but you still have to watch commercials. So I think once more people get hip to that, I think all bets are off. I think sports go anywhere they want.
I think sports in the U.S. needs to take a look at how football in Europe does a lot of things, because they broker with. So like the NBA is now finally getting team names, and people are like, I don't know. I'm like, I hate that. Do not care at all.
I actually hate that. I don't want to sit there and look like you play for Bimbo cookies. I don't care about
even here in the United States, it's like because I'm a Galaxy fan, but it's like I'm not a fan of Herbalife.
Even the refs we have what is the hell is it? United Healthcare, whoever the hell it is on the front of the thing. I'm like, I can't even tell what team it is. I just want to see the team name. Damn it! I don't care about advertising. You soccer fans are used to it because you hoard yourselves out from the
We totally did.
Yeah, we did. It's fine because what? We all get our games. It's the thing. I lived in Nigeria and I was able to watch every single team I wanted to watch in Europe, all because these companies were smart to say, we're just going to have deals across the board everywhere so that we can maximize our reach. And even that too, like a team like Manchester United has a huge following, and they actually push ads directly to Nigeria and all these countries where Man United does not exist there. So they understood well that, it's a global, for at least for them, it's a global sport, so we need to push out. So it's the same thing here in the US. They need to understand that, look, if we're going to expand, especially like basketball. I mean, basketball is a global sport. Football isn't necessarily a global sport, but basketball.
They're trying. They're making their attempts because you know there's NFL China, by the way.
Yeah,
but somehow they're going to play a game.
But basketball is that global sport. It's everywhere.
Basketball and baseball are your global. Well, even hockey to a degree. Almost all the other three sports have some type of international or global following to it.
You know, so you need to be able to make it. You know, like I say, whether it's on social platforms, Twitter, you know, or whatever the case may be, or Facebook, or you know, or at least China, somewhere in China, where it's Weibo. You need to push those things out so that you get more of that audience, and you're making money off that. You know, I mean, that's the thing there that it plays. But going back to the original topic of cable networks, one thing I found interesting. So I went to Tribeca Film Festival last week, and I was able to check out a movie that AT&T was. They sent me an invite for. What I found interesting is AT&T through DirecTV has been doing this thing for about 3 years, where for them to source content for the audience, to give something that captures the audience, they've been going to film festivals, whether it's Tribeca, Sundance, and they've been buying movies early, but not Netflix exclusive. Right. So it's a 30-day thing. So for the movie I saw was Equals, and the movie will come out first, besides the film festival, it will come out on DirecTV 30 days before it does a full nationwide release. So as a DirecTV customer, if you're hearing that, oh, this movie had big buzz, whatever the case may be, you don't have to go anywhere. You can just watch it at home for free because it's part of your package. So it was interesting to see them do something like that. They were looking for new ways to just get more content for the audiences and things like that. And I think maybe this is where I think that's something that they can also do, because they have some of that buying power to say, hey, look, we have these kind of content here, you know, before it comes out or before anyone else or whatever the case may be, to bring things. But I found what AT&T was doing was interesting, because I'm not the kind of person that will actually go out and watch indie movies, just because it's just not my thing in the movie theaters. But if I can get it at home, and I don't have to pay any money for it, because it's part of my AT&T package, DirecTV, then sounds good.
It does sound good.
I was going to say, nobody cares.
No, but I mean, I guess what I think is also just kind of curious, and I mean, I don't think it's like a major talking point or anything, but I do think it's kind of curious that with all of the discussion regarding net neutrality, the FCC's regulation over internet services, that one of the first big plays since that situation went down was actually to go after broadcast.
In what sense? Sorry.
Well, I mean, like opening up the cable box and how. You know, you know, when we talk about opening up the cable box, we're not talking about internet speeds, data connections. When we saw that little tiff happen with Netflix, throttling certain customers who were on metered connections. I mean, like, all of these little things happen, but one of the first major plays that the FCC makes against the cable industry was sort of traditional broadcast, the thing that we all kind of took for granted that was rigged. That's what they're going after, not necessarily, you know.
I think that's because that's also going to be the longest one to deal with. And maybe in their mindset to say, look, if we started now and we see some changes there, you know, which is why AT&T was like, oh, you know, DirecTV will have its app by the end of the year, and Comcast is like, oh, whoa, hold up a second, we're partnering with, you know, this person, and, you know, Samsung and Roku, and I think that's the one where even the companies themselves know they have to do some things to it. So it only made sense to start with that. Like you said, it's going to be piecemeal by piecemeal by piecemeal, you know, and by the time we get to what we're dreaming of, you know, there will be totally different problems from us, you know. Maybe by then we'll be, we won't be in space then. Never mind.
I think by the time that happens, we'll have like you know, sensory, augmented reality, virtual reality content. You know, we'll be like, watch TV. Why would I do that?
Yeah, exactly. So,
like, who watches TV?
Oh my God, that is so 2000s.
It's so 2000 and late.
Yeah, I would not do that. I would rather do other things, like just plug in. I'm like, yeah.
And we're in the Matrix.
Or it's like, I just have like a constant dopamine drip, so I just feel awesome all the time. So thanks.
Yeah. Have you read Ready Player One?
Oh yeah.
Yes, yes. I can't
You
wait
know
for
what I
that
think
movie.
is okay. So you know what I think is funny about Ready Player One is that reading through that, I'm sure when did that book come out? It wasn't that long ago,
It's
right?
like 3 years ago.
Yeah. So okay. So even like 3 years ago, it already starts to feel a little old-fashioned, compared to some of the things that we'll potentially be talking about. Like I kind of think like full body immersion VR suits where you sit in a chair and you kind of like experience a virtual reality world like that. I already feel like we can kind of do that now, and it's cool. But I for being that far in the future, I'd really want to see like more like neural interaction and ocular
Actually,
interaction.
was it that far in the future, or was it just 25 years in the future?
I mean, think about where we were 25 years ago.
Okay, that's true. That's true.
I mean, like
That is, yeah.
those things tend to accelerate, not like back off. But anyway,
Yeah.
so I just think it's kind of silly. Like whenever science fiction is like, "Whoa, this is so out there," a couple years later, we're like, "No, it's not that far off,
Yeah.
actually."
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I do agree that maybe neural interfaces might just causes a lot of damage, so they decided not to go that way. And
Maybe.
yeah, and they figured, hey, you know what, we use full body immersion, and then
Well, I mean, if you really want to trip, I mean, like have a really good laugh. There's the book 2001: A Space Odyssey,
yeah,
and Arthur C. Clarke wrote sequels to that, 2010, 2061, and then he wrapped up the series with 3001.
okay.
And the kind of stuff that he describes in 3001, I expect to see in my lifetime, not 1,000 years from now.
Like what? Give us an example.
I mean, he talks about this process where people have these sort of these interfaces which are sort of grafted to the skull, and so one of the main characters in 3001 wasn't born into this society, so he has to shave his head and he wears this cap, and you're like, if that's the best we can do in 1,000 years, I'm gonna be really disappointed in the progress of humanity.
Logging out.
Exactly. So, but I mean, like for the time that 3001 was written, I mean, it was an outlandish idea that we would communicate through neural interfaces and neural devices. And now, I mean, we're already playing with like toys and little consumer widgets and gizmos that, like you've seen that headband with the little ears, and it sort of tracks like the skin and the electroconductivity of your body to just visually display your mood with these little ears and stuff. Like, so once we can already do stuff like that, which doesn't require you to bore a hole into your brain, this notion that in 1,000 years the best we'll have is like a little cap that allows you to interface with technology.
Well, maybe
is kind of silly.
Maybe because in 500 years, people there's a revolt, and we're like, we need to be more human again, less technology, less invasive.
Okay, so let's say in 500 years we go back to basics.
Yeah.
That still means 500 years from then, the best we can come up with is stuff that we have today.
Okay. How about 910 years from now we go back to the basics?
You just keep moving those goalposts, man.
Yeah, no, right. And but actually, it would even make sense because just because you're getting back to the basics, you have technology that you can go back to where you were like this at that time. So
right.
Yeah. So 999, 6 months.
But we always have those issues with science fiction. I mean,
True.
It's why I love Star Trek so much, because every series of Star Trek sort of catches up to what the consumer technology is for its time, and then tries to push it further. And so you look at the stuff that they had in Next Gen, and you're like, yeah, we got a lot of that stuff today. We didn't have to wait 400 years for little tablets and communicators and cell phones and all of those things. Like, we've got that now.
Yeah, especially when they used to swap out tablets for information. I was like,
oh, those like high school linear.
It's like a giant USB flash drive.
Yep.
No, I keep telling I had a friend who used to work at NASA, and I remember we were all out eating, and people with some other friends, and they're like, "Oh, where do you work?" He's like, "Oh, he works at NASA." I was like, "Oh my God, that's so cool! You're so smart." I was like, "No, I have no enterprise. I have no teleportation. You all suck. You're doing a bad job." Everyone was looking at me like I'm like, "No, I'm serious. He's the smart one. I can't.
I mean, like, we need to work out power, but we have some theoretical concepts in place for things like warp drive. I mean, it's outlandish. And I don't think it's going to take us,
I don't want theoretical.
years.
I need it now. I need to leave this planet, man. It's a little sucky right now. So
I just say, like, my benchmark is does the technology arrive before the future that we saw in science fiction? So as long as we can beat the 24th century, I think we'll be in good shape.
Yeah, I agree too. I think what we need in conjunction with that is a mixture of that and also replaceable organs so that I can extend my life long enough so I can use that technology whenever it hits. So like, artificial heart, kidney, lungs, just to make sure that I can live long enough so I can teleport. And then, I can die happy at that point. All right, guys, that is it for the show.
We're going to end it on dying happy, and I think that's a smart play.
Yes. So we got to that point of the show where we talk about what we have currently on the channel, as well as also what to expect next week. So we are going to start off with Mr. Juan Bagnell.
Oh, wow. Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
So on Pocket Now, we wrapped up the HTC 10 camera review. We waited to see what came from some of those updates that got pushed out. So the full camera review is on the site. It's like a 12 or 13 minute video. So if you really want to see what the HTC 10 can do, not just like, some of those early reviewers who just posted a couple of shots and then said that the camera needed software fixes.
Yeah, did you get the software fixes?
It came out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, we ran the tests with the update on the camera. So that's live on the channel now. I just posted yesterday our review on the iPad Pro 9.7. And as opposed to just doing okay, so I was a little disappointed when some of the early reviews came out on that, because it was really like, well, it's an iPad Pro, and we already reviewed the big iPad Pro, so here's just a bunch of vanity shots of me pretending to use the tablet, and I'll say it's just another iPad.
Yeah,
so
the Verge reviews.
Yeah, a little bit, right? I mean, you would think that for a company that loves Apple so much. Anyway, so we had a question at Pocket Now, and this is badged as a Pro device. So we tried to see, could we produce an iPad Pro review on an iPad Pro? And so the video that we posted is the trials and tribulations of trying to do actual work on an iPad, not just pretty video of me using it outside or pretending to use it outside and trying to doodle with the pencil when I'm not an artist. John Redinger, I'm looking at you. And so, and then
shots fired.
Wrap up what we've got coming down the pipe. I finally got my hands on the Huawei P9 with the dual Leica-inspired cameras. So coming out next week, we're going to have our unboxing, a review, and then the full camera review on this puppy. See if we've got something special or if it's just another gimmick.
All right, cool. Anything on Some Gadget Guy?
Actually, Gadget Guy is going to be quiet next week. I got hammered last week trying to wrap up the content that we had. I still have a couple accessory reviews, some camera stuff coming out, and some bags. I have a bag review that I still need to finish up, but Pocket Now has been keeping me pretty busy, so Gadget Guy probably won't get as much attention next week.
All right, cool. Mr. Bowman.
What?
I gave you time to think and let us know what you have currently on the channel, minus the stuff you're going to have next week.
Videos.
All right. That's all he does
videos. We currently have some HTC 10 stuff currently up there right now, and some stuff about the PS4.5 announcement, and some stuff about the Nintendo NX is also up there as well too, that we talked about. And next week there'll be some stuff, videos, reviews of things that come out, like phones and things of that nature. And yeah,
that's it.
I couldn't think of anything funny to say.
All right. For us on the channel, we started doing the Game of Thrones recap 10:15 p.m. every Sunday, so right after it airs. And yeah, so it's fun. Join us. We go through. We have not read the book, so all our theories are out there. If you've read the books, please chime in. Let us know what you think. But also, again, we're all in the same place anyway. Lex dropped his review of the Fitbit Blaze. He likes it. Check it out. He also showed it in different situations. Also dropped a review of the HyperX Cloud Revolver, which is HyperX's new headset. And then we did a review of the movie Keanu, which is the new Key and Peele movie. As you can see, I'm smiling. That should give you an indication of what I think of the movie. Even though I do not like cats at all. I'm not a cat. It will kill me, literally. I'm allergic to cats. So.
Yeah, me too.
So yeah, that was up there. Coming this week, we're gonna have our LG G5 review from Daniel. He's doing that because I honestly, if I actually reviewed it, I would have dissed the device. I'm just telling you the truth. So.
Oh, poor LG G5.
Yeah. And then we're gonna start doing battle vids on Wednesday. So I'm gonna call it Battle Wednesday because our next battle vid is the best low light camera. Looking at you, HTC, can you win this one? Because everybody says you're the best. So we're gonna compare a bunch of devices, top tier devices. I'm thinking the S7, HTC 10, LG G5. Nexus 6P, and the Huawei P9, just because it's got the dual cameras.
Ooh, it's fancy.
Exactly. So we'll have that next week. And again, Sunday, we're going to have our Game of Thrones recap. So join us. Seriously, if anyone can, it will be fun. And, we're going to throw wild theories out there. This is going to be dragon, fire, direwolves, you name it. It's going to be really exciting. It's going to be like Dungeons and Never mind, Game of Thrones. Okay, that is it, guys. Thank you very much for joining us again this week. Just on a note, there will be no show next week. I know, sorry, we come back. We got to go. My cousin's graduating from college, and she's going to med school, so I have to be there. So no show next week, but we will continue the week after. So, as always, definitely check out all the channels. Check out Mr. Warren Bowman. It's bw1.com. Google Hangouts does not want to give him a lower third again. But you can check him out. It's bw1.com on YouTube, and follow him on Twitter with the same handle, as well as Mr. Juan Bagnell from Pocket Now. You can find him, all his videos on Pocket Now. And you can follow him on Twitter. It is Some Gadget Guy, and also Pocket Now on Twitter and YouTube. All right, guys, that is it. Thank you very much. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the show, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. This is Thunder E saying thank you, and always enjoy your entertainment.
Damn.